Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're about to start Plenary Session 3. In this session, we will hear from 11 keynote speakers about strengthening cross-border cooperation. And now, let us begin Plenary Session 3 of the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace 2013. All the speakers are given 7 to 8 minutes for the presentation, and we cordially ask you to keep the time. First, I am honored to introduce to you His Excellency Amirzai Sangin, Minister of Communications and IT of Afghanistan. Please give him a big round of applause.
Excellency, Ministers, respected delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is great honor for me to be participating in this important Seoul conference on cyberspace. Today, cyberspace is part of everyone's life. We are experiencing a revolutionary development of the ICT. Mobile phones and internet has transformed the world into an information society. We communicate, exchange, and share information across the globe like never before. Cyberspace is contributing to economic growth and social development. It is playing a vital role in education and healthcare. It helps governments to better serve its people. The level of ICT development globally is not uniform. I think all governments have challenges, but the type and scale of the challenges vary from country to country. I would like to say that the challenges we faced in Afghanistan have been huge, perhaps not faced by any or few other governments. 10 years ago, there was no ICT infrastructure in our country. Our people had to go to neighboring country for making a simple phone call. At the same time, Afghanistan is a developing country and had limited or no money for the development of the ICT. The human capacity was also very low. Most of the educated class had left the country. Due to war, a whole generation missed the opportunity to get education. Also, Afghanistan is a landlocked country, and this is yet another challenge for ICT connectivity. Added to this is the security challenge. Terrorism and insurgency hinder timely implementation of our policies and scare away investments. Respected delegates, despite these challenges, I am happy to tell you that we have made relatively good progress in the ICT sector in Afghanistan. Mobile network now covers nearly 90% of the population, and the number of mobile phone users has reached over 20 million, which is equivalent to 75% of the population. The ICT sector has become the single largest source of foreign direct investment, which now stands at approximately $2 billion. In the area of internet, I must confess that we are lagging behind. We only have about 2 million users, which is equivalent to 8% of the population. This slow development has been due to two problems. Firstly, the price has been very high, and secondly, internet has not been available in many parts of our country. The government has taken steps to address these issues by building an optical fiber backbone network and issuing broadband wireless access licenses to the operators. Today, the 3G services are covering nearly 40% of the population, and our goal is that the affordable broadband service shall reach to over 90% of the population in next 2 years. ICT is not just for the rich people or the middle classes. The poor needs it more. If we really mean that we want to help the poor, then let us give them broadband. It will enable them to stand on their own feet. This is why we are laying on priority basis optical fiber to the poorest areas of our country. What ICT can do for our society is limited only by our imagination. Broadband services will provide tremendous possibilities for all of our people, particularly the young generation who are extremely interested in ICT. We expect innovations in explosion of new applications. We expect new areas of jobs in employment opportunities. We expect further social and economic development of our country. While we are doing our utmost to make ICT available to all of our citizens, we are also aware of the risks that are associated with it, namely the security of the information technologies. The more we become dependent on ICT, the more important to ensure its security. In the physical world, security issues are normally with neighboring countries, countries with which you have common borders. But in the cyberspace, you can have cross-border issues with any country, as the internet is global and an attack can come from any part of the world. We, the governments, are taking responsibility in or developing appropriate national strategies for cybersecurity in the protection of critical national information. But this alone is not enough. We need cross-border cooperation on regional as well as global basis. The least developed countries, such as mine, need the help of the more advanced countries in terms of sharing experiences to ensure cybersecurity and fight cyber crimes. This Seoul conference on cyberspace is an excellent opportunity for all of us to understand the challenges we face and how we can work together to overcome these challenges and make the cyberspace more safe, reliable, and trustworthy for all of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency Amir Zai Sangin, Minister of Communication and IT of Afghanistan. The next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, will be Her Excellency Julie Bishop, Minister of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome her with a round of applause.
Excellencies, Ministers and Delegates, may I begin by thanking the Government of South Korea for hosting this important and unique conference, a personal initiative of the United Kingdom's Foreign Secretary William Hague just 2 years ago. The Republic of Korea comes with excellent credentials as an active middle power, a vibrant democracy, a dynamic economy, a high-technology society, the home of Gangnam Style, and a world-class provider of ICT located in the Indo-Pacific region. And so I have full confidence that this conference, under Korea's able leadership, will be a great success. I take the opportunity this afternoon to outline the recently elected Australian government's thinking on some of the fundamental questions being addressed by this conference. Cyber, in all its manifestations, is now a mainstream priority issue. The cyber realm is, by definition, global and borderless. This presents both challenges and opportunities for nation-states. Countries now operate in a truly globalised economic and information environment. As such, we are all interdependent and reliant on a trusted, stable and predictable cyberspace. It is crucial infrastructure for us all. Cyberspace is not without rules. International and national laws apply online. The Australian Government is committed to an open, secure and dynamic internet. We embrace it as a source of innovation, economic growth and development. As the driver of electronic commerce, it's an increasingly important part of international trade and of trade agreements. The internet will drive global prosperity. It is already a key contributor to our social and cultural life and will affect our lives in ways that we cannot yet fully appreciate. The technology and applications which spring from it continue to develop and to surprise. For Australia, the internet offers opportunities which will help reduce, if not eliminate, the tyranny of distance, both across our vast continent and between Australia and the rest of the world. The global economic centre of gravity is shifting from Europe and North America to the Indian Ocean Asia-Pacific region. One major factor driving our region's transformation is the development of capabilities based on advanced information and communications technologies. People in this region have shown a remarkable ability to harness the resulting global opportunities. Encouraging investment in high-speed infrastructure means that economies, businesses and individuals are better placed to take advantage of opportunities for growth and development. As a globally minded government, the new administration in Australia has been informed in our policy approach to our national broadband network by what we have observed in a number of countries, including Korea. In 2011, our now Minister for Communications, Malcolm Turnbull, visited Seoul, inspected a number of broadband installations, and was informed, indeed inspired, by Korea's private sector-led, competitive and cutting-edge approach to an efficient broadband network. We need an international regulatory environment that doesn't unduly restrict our digital trade ambition or the dynamism of the digital age, yet provides appropriate security and confidence for the user. The openness of the internet lies at the heart of its role as an economic driver, as well as the basis for its contribution to social life. It connects people and ideas. It eliminates distance and time. It is a libertarian force for good. Freedom of expression and the right to privacy exist online as they do offline. The Internet's multi-stakeholder governance framework, a project of collaboration between the private sector, civil society and governments, has enabled it to be the force that it is today. We want the internet to flourish. Governments are not generally the best or indeed the first place to look for solutions to the internet's challenges. As a first principle, governments should not intervene in the functioning of the internet. Should they do so, their actions should only ever be proportionate, transparent, open to scrutiny by the community and subject to a framework of law. If there is to be intervention in the internet, it should only ever be a light touch. To reap its benefits fully, the internet needs to be both open and secure. We believe openness is fundamental to the internet's success, but security is also critical to provide confidence and trust. Cybersecurity underpins the internet and is a key to realising its economic, social and cultural benefits. For Australia, cybersecurity is a national security priority. Currently, we are drawing together the many capabilities spread across government into a new Australian Cybersecurity Centre with a view to enhancing our ability to protect and defend our networks. Australia is making other contributions to the security of the borderless internet. We believe that what we call the Australian mitigation strategies against targeted intrusions represent world best practice. Implementation of the top 4 mitigation strategies eliminates some 85% of targeted intrusions. We have a voluntary code of conduct, the I-Code, for Australian internet service providers, which help educate and inform their customers about cyber security issues. We recognise, as do others, that cybersecurity is in our common interest. We will work with countries and other partners in our region, drawing on the sources of expertise available to us from the different stakeholders to achieve our common goal, a region characterised by hardened cyber security. And achieving security on the internet must not be at the expense of respect for individual privacy or of freedom of expression. In combating transnational crime, we have learned from long experience that harmonising legal frameworks and facilitating law enforcement cooperation across jurisdictions are two international priorities. In March 2013, Australia acceded to the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime. As the only existing international treaty on cybercrime, it provides a basic standard for those who are serious in their endeavours to tackle the problem. As our accession demonstrates, the Convention is open to countries which are not members of the Council of Europe. We encourage countries which have not done so to take steps to bring their laws into line with the Budapest Convention and to ensure their law enforcement personnel have the capacity to cooperate with other jurisdictions. We also encourage non-parties to consider accession. Cyberspace is not lawless. Existing international law applies to states' use of cyber. In the event of conflict, the UN Charter, the law of armed conflict, and other related bodies of existing international law apply in cyberspace as they do elsewhere. Elaborating how international law applies is the task which the international community must now undertake. Australia accords great importance to the United Nations work in developing common understandings on the application of international law to cyberspace, illustrated by our chairmanship of the United Nations Group of Governmental Experts on Cyber. Clarifying the rules of the road in relation to cyberspace will take time. However, we cannot sit still while this complex task is finished. States, as might be expected, are assessing new technologies and are considering how to exploit them to serve their interests. Our short-term interest is to develop mechanisms to address the inevitable frictions that will occur between states in cyberspace. We need to develop and implement transparency and confidence-building measures to reduce the risk of conflict through misperception and miscalculation. Our regional security bodies, including the ASEAN Regional Forum, have long been the laboratory for confidence building and conflict prevention. They are well placed to take forward this work, and Australia is actively engaged in this endeavour. Cyberspace offers humanity great hope for future innovation and prosperity. For the internet to thrive, it must be open. And to be open, it must have the confidence and trust that comes from a global resolution of the internet's security and common understandings of the rules of the road governing cyberspace. Australia looks forward to working with our partners on building a sustainable future for an open, free and secure internet.
Thank you, Your Excellency Julie Bishop, Minister of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Australia. The next speaker will be Her Excellency Dipu Moni Nawaz, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, cyberspace has enmeshed the globe, traversing all boundaries in the system of internet. Open and global cyberspace has emerged as a major driving force behind growth, economic development, and social interaction. It gives access to knowledge and exchange of views and ideas, and nurtures innovation and investment, leading to sustainable growth and development. While the developed countries could effectively exploit this technological endowment, developing countries fell behind in harnessing its true potential. To tap the opportunities opened up by ICT, our government, under the leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, launched Digital Bangladesh campaign immediately after forming the government in 2009. Our government put special emphasis on applying ICT to reduce poverty, increase efficiency, productivity, service delivery, transparency, citizens' access to information, and improve the life of the people as a whole. We are keen and working hard to create a conducive ecosystem for use of ICT to leverage economic growth to transform Bangladesh into a middle-income country by 2021. To that end, we adopted the National ICT Policy 2009, which is designed to be the roadmap for a digital Bangladesh. We have been implementing short, mid, and long-term action plans under the National ICT Policy to ensure pivotal role of ICT in promoting development, as was enshrined in the UN Resolution number 64/187. For us, visions of cyberspace is ensuring people's democracy and human rights, transparency, accountability, establishing justice, and ensuring delivery of government services to the citizens of Bangladesh through maximum use of technology, with the ultimate goal being the overall improvement of the daily lifestyle of general people. This includes all classes of people and does not discriminate people in terms of technology. It also includes promoting the inter- and multidisciplinary study of all aspects relating to cyber culture, science fiction, and how significant perspectives can be brought to bear on the nature of what it is to be human and the understanding of what it means for human beings to live in global communities. Global ICT industry has been built upon innovation and openness. Ensuring openness of cyberspace and protecting freedom of expression are critical in healthy growth of ICT. These openness and freedom need to go hand in hand with protection of privacy, protection of intellectual property, protection of national values and cultural identities. National ICT policies and regulations need to accommodate these needs and also requires to be harmonized across national borders. Multilateral platforms and periodic reviews and negotiations are pivotal in harmonizing these policies. Global internet governance needs to be formalized through multilateral, transparent, and democratic process. Ladies and gentlemen, growing threat of cyber espionage and cybercrime is posing serious threat to an open and secured global cyberspace. Tools to conduct cyber espionage and cyber crimes have become cheaper and readily available and challenging the safety and security of network. Key infrastructures, including those of energy, defense, and financial sector, essentially rely on ICT, and any breach of their security would mean catastrophic consequences for the global security. We believe global commitment is needed for collective protection of critical infrastructures from cyber attack. Enmeshed nature of the cyberspace requires proportionate security measures from all concerned across the globe. We need to share our knowledge on internet security best practices to make us all safe. We need to work together to fight the cybersecurity threats and cybercrime, which are predominantly international in nature. Greater international alliance for computer-related emergency response needs to be built. Ladies and gentlemen, in our draft National Cybersecurity Strategy, we duly recognize that the cybersecurity is a global challenge that demands truly international solutions. Therefore, we commit ourselves to joining regional and international partnerships, creating solutions for addressing the cybersecurity challenges regardless of threat. We aim at helping the International Telecommunication Union's Global Cybersecurity Agenda, known as GCA, become the key framework for creating a secure and safe information society. Bangladesh is working on harmonizing its cybercrime legislation with global conventions, aligning them with ITU Toolkit for cybercrime legislation. This will help international cooperation and address jurisdictional and evidentiary issues. Our cybersecurity strategy aspires for Bangladesh's participation in international efforts to improve the security of Internet protocols and routing technologies. It mandates our cybersecurity agency to engage in international schemes such as the International Multilateral Partnership Against Cyber Threats Impact for alerts, early warning, and cooperation on cyber threats. Cross-border concerted efforts of state and non-state actors are therefore essential to ensure congenial and resilient digital environment. Excellencies, we all know that the developmental role of ICT has now been widely recognized by the international community. We thank the World Bank, IFC, EU, the Commonwealth, and other international organizations, and many bilateral partners, including DFID, UK, USAID, Japan, China, and Korea, for extending valuable support to improve Bangladesh's ICT infrastructure and human capacity building. Even after devoting maximum possible internal resources and receiving support from the global community, we realize that the gap between the available and the required resources remains huge. Without enhanced support from the global community, it would be extremely difficult for the developing nations to overcome the digital divide and effectively harness the benefits offered by ICT. I take this opportunity to appeal to the international community to bring in improvements and innovations in financing mechanisms and augment committed fund for ICT projects and programs in developing countries to transfer knowledge and appropriate technology. The enormous benefits that the Internet brought for the humanity could only be harnessed if you could keep the cyberspace clean and secure. The less a country is endowed with expertise or knowledge, the more vulnerable it is to such risks. Excellencies, in the cyber world, Bangladesh is not an isolated island. There is no reason to think that Bangladesh can survive the cyber attacks taking less sophisticated measures than the developed countries. As the security practices and solutions are continuously improving, so are the attacks. Therefore, it is a continuous process and need to be at par with the international standards. We need to remind ourselves that no country, I repeat, no country is ahead of cyber attackers. The bad guys are faster and swifter than the good guys. Cyber criminals don't have to wrestle with legal and policy questions and freely share information with each other without worrying about competitive issues. We therefore are up against an adversary that has no boundaries, at times even no traces. Ladies and gentlemen, in Bangladesh, several cyber attacks have been observed within the past few years. The type of attack Bangladesh is facing can be categorized as the following: privacy violations, secret information appropriation and data theft, intentional corruption of e-governance information systems, distributed denial of services, network damage and disruptions, sexually explicit materials. To prevent all these, Criminal Information Department and Korean International Cooperation Agency, COICA, are in the process of establishing the project, namely enhancing cybercrime investigation capability of Bangladesh Police. It includes basic ICT training facility, cybercrime investigation training facility, mobile forensic lab, system forensic lab, cybercrime investigation lab, physical recovery lab, and evidence archive and management. Today's cyber threats are becoming increasingly more targeted and sophisticated, with criminal networks operating across the world, coordinating complex attacks against targets in a matter of minutes. Due to the complexity of the cyber threat landscape, cybercrime investigations are profoundly different in nature to traditional crime, requiring high-level technical expertise and large-scale cross-jurisdictional investigations. It is essential that law enforcement prioritize resources, build cross-jurisdictional and cross-sectoral collaboration, in addition to developing the technical expertise, tools, and infrastructure required to effectively combat threats and eventually enhance digital security. While we should continue to do all we can to bring the blessing of a networked world to the doorsteps of every human being, we should also be mindful about those who are left out. Not only those who are left out, but also those who are in, but only by name. People with disability, people living in remote rural places, or in the slums. As much as I am aware of the challenges of bringing equality between haves and have-nots, I appeal to this august gathering to find ways to understand what this divide looks like, how it evolves and changes. It is through this realization that we may eventually address the underlying causes and provide resources for all of our fellow Homo sapiens. I'm confident that the Seoul Cyberspace Conference 2013 will be successful to bring to the fore the ever-increasing need for international cooperation in securing global cyberspace. I hope it will also add to the drive for broadening a safe and secure cybersphere for all. I hope the outcome document of the conference will truly bind us together with efforts and initiatives for a faster but safe, broadened but beneficial cyber world. Thank you all.
Thank you, Your Excellency Dipumoni Nawaz, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh. The next speaker will be His Excellency Urmas Payet, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Estonia. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen. And first, I also would like to thank our Korean colleagues and friends for organizing this very important conference here, and thank you also for the invitation. Over the past 2 decades, in Estonia, the Internet has become increasingly important for promoting innovation, as well as for our economic competitiveness and collective well-being. It's a simple fact. Where business is easy, business will grow. Services in the private sector, such as internet banking and digital signatures, have cut costs and sped up trade like never before. In Estonia, in the country with a population of 1.3 million people, we are seeing 35 million digital signatures per year. Public sector solutions used in Estonia, like electronic tax filing, electronic voting at elections, e-business registry, and the availability of public records online, have decreased level of bureaucracy to minimum. The main backbone of Estonia's e-services is X-Road, the environment that allows the state's various databases and registers, both in the public and private sector, to link up and operate seamlessly. The free flow of data and services can have huge economic potential. Companies with international ambitions and activities, as well as people, would clearly benefit from e-commerce or public services that move easily across borders. That is why Estonia has shared its experience with e-services, especially X-Road worldwide. We have also initiated a cooperation project with our northern neighbor, Finland. The latter aims to improve data exchange and bring the movement of services between our 2 countries to the next level. Just to give you one example, digital signatures or electronic tax operations that are valid in a cross-border framework would save a lot of time and money for everyone. Our cooperation with Finland could become an example of the first functioning cross-border e-services, and we hope it serves as an example for the whole of Europe and other parts of the world. In order to contribute to the same positive trend internationally, we should improve connectivity, particularly in the developing world. Digital capacity building offers some of the best return on investment in development cooperation. Estonia has been active in sharing its expertise with partners around the world for several years already. The Estonian e-Governance Academy has worked with many states that wish to build up e-solutions similar to those in Estonia. As the Millennium Development Goals come to an end, the importance of new technologies and e-services is something to keep in mind as we frame the post-2015 development agenda. Advancing and developing the ICT skills of citizens is fundamental for building a global information society and addressing the digital divide. Therefore, ICT education in Estonia is treated as an integral part of the curriculum at all levels of education. Thanks to government-backed technology investment, all schools in Estonia were connected to the internet by the late 1990s. This was followed by a project to teach programming from the very first grade of school. It aims to enhance mathematical thinking and to put newly acquired skills into practice in a fascinating way, for example, by programming robots. In parallel with developing digital governance and e-services, it is equally important to establish security of these applications. This is fundamental not only to national security, but also to protecting the rights of our citizens and the economic well-being of our markets, thereby enabling them to operate with confidence. Estonia has put a lot of effort into its cybersecurity infrastructure by treating the issue of cybersecurity as an enabler for both economic growth and regional integration. The benefits of digitalized society can only be achieved if identities are secure. In Estonia, the government has become the guarantor of online transactions, while identity is authenticated by a body independent of the government. We use a two-factor identification system in which the ID is protected by both a chip and a password. A binary key or public key infrastructure guarantees securely encrypted transfer of information. More than any other country, Estonia has invested into digitizing various aspects of modern life, including banking, education, and healthcare. However, by using a verifiable and reliable identification system, our citizens have benefited from these processes without sacrificing neither their security nor their privacy. Even throughout the duration of the 2007 cyber attacks, the fundamental integrity of our system remained uncompromised. At a time when the greatest threats to our privacy and to the security of our data come from criminal hackers, and when financial damage caused by cybercrime is reported to be enormous, it is even more important to have joint resistance to such activity by governments. The 2001 Council of Europe's Convention on Cybercrime, the Budapest Convention, remains so far the only legally binding international instrument in the world that addresses cybercrime. Needless to say, the more countries accede to it, the more functional our joint efforts in countering this challenge become. Estonia continues to support the application of the Convention. Estonia takes cybersecurity very seriously. This is illustrated by the fact that we are drafting already our second cybersecurity strategy for 2014 to 2017. In addition, we are proud hosts of the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence and provide over half of its funding. The center is an international interdisciplinary research organization that supports NATO nations and its partners with cybersecurity expertise, educational and training resources, and assistance in policy development. It is Estonia's strong belief that the internet can be both secure and free. I cannot agree with the argument that human rights and political liberties apply only in so-called real life, and cyberspace requires different laws and principles altogether. Cyberspace is real, and virtual freedom of expression is nothing other than a basic human right. Free and open access to the internet contributes to economic development. The World Bank governance indicators from 2011 have proven that there is a clear correlation between economic growth and different forms of freedom, including the freedom of expression. Supporting freedom of expression and personal privacy online is a principle we also uphold at the international level. Estonia is a founding member and this year also the coordinator of the Freedom Online Coalition, an informal, like-minded group of states that works for supporting internet freedom. On April 28 and 29 next year, we will be welcoming the ministers of the member states of the Freedom Online Coalition, as well as all other interested stakeholders in Estonia at the high-level conference on the ways how to safeguard the freedom and security of the internet. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we need a complex approach where an equally free and secure cyber environment is maintained by innovative ICT awareness. No model that has proven its vitality can be taken from one context and introduced exactly in the same way to another. But if governments, entrepreneurs, and citizens will share knowledge, establish cooperation, and learn from good practices, as the story of e-Estonia proves, we can make sure that the Internet continues to be a beneficial tool for increasing global prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency Urmas Paet, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Estonia. The next speaker will be Her Excellency Hannah Tete, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of Ghana. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates. First and foremost, let me express the heartfelt gratitude of myself and my delegation to the government of the Republic of South Korea for hosting the 3rd Cyberspace Conference and for the warm hospitality and excellent facilities that they've placed at our disposal. Indeed, we are very much aware that Korea is a leader in this particular area, and we hope to be able to use the benefit of participating in this conference to learn from the experiences of Korea and other nations as well. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the pervasive use of ICT in all facets of human life in the 21st century is rapidly eliminating the boundaries between the real and the cyber world, making cyberspace as important as real-life space for communities in business, in economics, in politics, in healthcare, and in so many other areas of our work life. It has also created borderless states with many actors, and hence reliable communication network and services in cyberspace have long been a critical element in ensuring public welfare and also economic growth and stability. We are at a point where an inextricable nexus has developed between cybersecurity and overall global security. Ensuring cybersecurity has turned into a central challenge for the state, for business, for the individual, but as other speakers have mentioned already, that is no reason to be heavy-handed in ensuring that we are able to provide a secure cyberspace area for the promotion of the various activities that take place there. It is without a doubt that information and communication technology has helped Africa to grow in leaps and bounds, and we think that the opportunity as a stimulus for further growth indeed is limitless. It has contributed to business opportunities, capacity development, created new taxable revenue streams, has reduced cost on transactions, and has also helped us to expand the frontiers of knowledge even in the remotest communities on our continent. And therefore, we think that this is something which is a phenomena that has helped us tremendously, even though we recognize that we have a long way to go in comparison to the developed world. We're hoping that conferences such as this would not only create the opportunity for us to talk about the opportunities that exist within the cyber world, but also to build the partnerships that will help to improve our infrastructure and therefore create the opportunity for many more Africans to be able to access the internet and to make use of the opportunity it provides. A recent article on ICT in Africa indicates that as of 2012, we had 15.6% internet penetration on the continent, with, of course, different countries having different levels of penetration. In my country, Ghana, we currently have almost 100% mobile telephone coverage, and we have about 30% internet coverage through the use of smartphones. But even then, we think that that's a statistic
that definitely should improve and should be improving quickly. Our regional bodies, the African Union, and at the West African level, the Economic Community of West African States, have also been keen on utilizing the digital economy and the digital opportunity to reap its benefits in various sectors, including education and healthcare. And we are looking to find more opportunities to integrate ICT in education especially, and also in non-formal education, to make sure that we are able to bring all of the people of our continent up to speed. Indeed, ICT, which helps us to reduce the cost of teaching and learning facilities, we think is perhaps the most innovative tool that will help to promote and to speed up the growth of our continent. The African Leadership in ICT program is another continental initiative spearheaded by the African Union Commission to develop a group of ICT and knowledge society leaders that can become agents for change in our respective countries and catalysts for the promotion of regional cooperation in the domain of ICT and in knowledge societies, both at the country and regional levels. We hope that more and more African countries will be able to develop and eventually implement clear ICT policies and cybersecurity policies that will create an environment that is favorable to the sustainable dissemination and development of information and communication technology across our continents. We have prepared a draft cybersecurity policy in Ghana, which is currently going through the process of review and final confirmation. But we are very much aware that, especially in Africa, this cannot be the initiative of one country. This always has to be the initiative of several countries so that we can grow and progress together. Distinguished guests, the benefits of cooperation among the 90 countries gathered here to discuss cyberspace issues, including coping with growing cyber threats and enhancing capacity among developing nations, cannot be overemphasized. Through cooperation, ICT, which is of great importance, has the potential to contribute to more rapid growth and productivity of our economies. But we have all said in our various contributions that we recognize that going forward, it requires much more cooperation that has taken place. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that comprehensive cooperation should raise awareness of ICT opportunities and contribute intellectually to policy and institution building. We think it's important to work together to enhance cybersecurity through providing the adequate legal framework and for developing the protection of intellectual property across the globe, and to having these policies and legal frameworks domesticated at the national level as well. We are looking to support the building of public-private partnerships to expand ICT infrastructure and to provide the opportunities for the expansion of e-commerce across our continent with the use of ICT. We also would like to see how best we can work with other countries to look beyond the traditional forms of providing development assistance in areas such as education, health, and dealing with the challenge of climate change through the increased use of the internet. We want to ensure that the inputs and concerns from across government departments and agencies, and of course, most importantly, our citizens, are heard and addressed in fora such as these, so that we are able to ensure that across our continent, across the world, we indeed feel part of a greater global community as a result of working together to improve the opportunities created by this space. As we continue to meet in fora such as this to strengthen international cyberspace cooperation, we hope that we can draw inspiration from the fact that working together, we certainly can achieve a lot, and much more than working as individual member states. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency Hannah Tete, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration of Ghana. The next speaker will be Her Excellency Louise Mushikiwabo, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of Rwanda. Please welcome her with a warm round of applause.
Your Excellencies, fellow speakers, ladies and gentlemen, participants. It gives me great pleasure to be here at the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace. I would like to also take this opportunity to express my sincere gratitude to the government of the Republic of Korea for extending an invitation to my country through me and for organizing this very important conference and organizing it so well. 60 years ago, the Republic of Korea went through economic difficulties similar to the ones most African countries are emerging from. To overcome those difficulties, Korea heavily invested in education and infrastructure development that helped kickstart growth, and Korea is currently one of the world's most successful economies. Therefore, Korea having been where most African countries are coming from, we feel that as a country, it understands well the problems faced by our continent. That is part of why my country, Rwanda, has been able to establish excellent relations and cooperation with the Republic of Korea. In our cooperative relationship, the Republic of Korea has demonstrated genuine eagerness to share its developmental experience in many sectors, ranging from agriculture to culture, and today to cyberspace. Today, Rwandan companies can do business anywhere in the world with internet connection, providing a considerable number of opportunities for our people. Young entrepreneurs are selling and buying homes. A mother in rural Rwanda can sell art crafts to a family in the Republic of Korea. Students in Rwandan schools can learn from teachers in Asia through video conferencing or access study material from other parts of the world. And Rwandan nurses are now busy monitoring and collecting data on public health online, and aggrieved citizens can file court cases online. My task here today is to share with you our view on cross-border relations as a critical success factor for many countries striving to cyberspace enable their economies and social activities, thereby enhancing the lives of their citizens. I will use the Rwanda-Korea cooperation experience as an example. As a country determined to achieve rapid economic development, Rwanda fully understands that information technology must be part of it, and that we must have the two key components of cyberspace capability. The first component is high-speed broadband, preferably mobile broadband. The second component is national computing power in the form of IT cloud services. A simple analogy to help understand the economic significance of these two components of cyberspace capability is to think of broadband as the highway over which our cars and trucks travel while supporting economic activity on one hand, and to think of IT cloud services as the cars and trucks using the highways to enable citizens to achieve their economic and social objectives on the other. In addition, deployment of these components of cyberspace capability must be accomplished in a relatively short time, as cyberspace can be a formidable catalyst for progress. In Rwanda's case, Korean Telecom has set a benchmark in helping us create the catalysm. So how does a country like mine, Rwanda, achieve rapid establishment of these two components of cyberspace capability? How can a group of countries with comparable economic situations as Rwanda's work cooperatively to achieve a better outcome in their quest to establish cyberspace capability? How can such cooperation between countries and amongst countries enhance economic activity amongst them, regardless of geographic proximity? We believe the answer is in cross-border cooperation. one that can provide us with access to technology and know-how, coupled with interstate cooperation between strategic technology partners. Thanks to Rwanda's strong cross-border cooperation with the Republic of Korea, we have developed strong strategic partnership with a number of Korean corporations that are currently working with us to roll out infrastructure at the pace required to achieve rapid development. We work strategically, among others, with many Korean companies in various areas. However, today I want to highlight the level of collaboration Rwanda has jointly nurtured with Korea Telecom, covering both areas of cyberspace enablement, as I mentioned above in my analogy of highways and cars. We have developed excellent cooperation where we're now jointly rolling out with Korea Telecom a 4G LTE wireless broadband on top of our nationwide fiber optic network as the last piece of the puzzle in our quest for high-speed broadband access. It all began in 2007 when Korea Telecom signed a contract with my government for wireless high-speed internet. This provided high-speed mobile broadband, but only limited to the capital city, Kigali. The demonstrated benefits of that inspired us to set ourselves the goal to provide high-speed mobile broadband to 95% of our population by the year 2017. We are now on our way to achieving that goal. In 2008, we engaged Korea Telecom to deploy our national fiber optical network and transfer know-how to our own engineers to run and operate the network as a business. In June this year, my government and Korea Telecom signed an agreement to roll out high-speed 4G LTE infrastructure to cover 95% of our country's population and to finish the construction within 3 years. However, I note that leading to this historic moment, Korea Telecom had introduced us to another Korean company, Only Infotel, which helped us to develop a technical scenario for a nationwide wireless access network that would deliver broadband for all. OIT engineers, together with our own, completed a nationwide survey and developed a master broadband GIS map showing the current ICT infrastructure as well as the target broadband coverage requirements. In September this year, the government of Rwanda and Korea Telecom signed an agreement to establish an IT cloud services company to spearhead rapid growth of Rwanda's second component of cyberspace. Through this company, Korea Telecom and the government of Rwanda will facilitate rapid transformation of the IT and computing infrastructure across the country. They will jointly facilitate rapid upskilling of IT engineers and create a hub for computing power and know-how in availing and delivering cloud-based services to Rwanda, to the region, and globally. The only way this can be achieved is through a painstakingly nurtured relationship, first with the country, then with the technology partner, who in return shows a strong sense of concern for our country's development. Ladies and gentlemen, a key attribute to cyberspace is cybersecurity. A number of speakers have touched on this, and it will be the topic of one of the panels here at this conference. So at the end of last year, Korea Internet Security Agency, KISA, together with Korea Telecom, signed a contract with my government for an information protection technology. The project aims to establish computer security incident response team, an internet center, and public key infrastructure. Korea Telecom will establish the internet center, which will provide the construction plan and will provide consulting, management, and operational services. KISA will provide education for key trainees on information security and offer an operations support center. Other Korean businesses, players in the field, such as Unlab and Igloo Security are also joining this project. Successful involvement of these technology players comes from our long-established cooperation with the Republic of Korea. We welcome other countries in different regions of Africa to join with us and evolve this early model we have created to bring it to a multi-country cooperation model. In Rwanda, we have looked at this idea seriously and reasoned it out with our current strategic partners, Korea Telecom in particular, and we realized that it would deliver significant shared benefits if we were to involve other countries. We, for instance, know how economically constraining it is to accelerate broadband rollout rather than let the traditional market model determine how soon, if at all, our countries can have high-speed broadband. The key factor affecting the economics is the quantities ordered for construction of the broadband network equipment on one hand, and on the other hand, the broadband-enabled handsets ordered for the market. Therefore, if Rwanda and a number of countries pursuing the cyberspace dream were to source these things jointly, then economies of scale would come into play and all the countries would get what they need at a much lower price. We now also know from looking at other factors that the best way to get this product sourcing benefit is to share one strategic partner. Other options are possible but seem too difficult or simply fragmented and procurement-wise complex and unpredictable. Excellencies, distinguished participants, information and communication technology has become an indispensable part of our way of life, without which it would be very hard to achieve economic development for some of our countries and many developing countries. We are confident that strategic partnership between the Republic of Korea and Rwanda in ICT development will enable us to achieve these targets faster and transform Rwanda into a modern, knowledge-based economy with middle-income citizens. And that journey for Rwanda is planned for the year 2020. There have been diverse benefits in using ICT for individuals, for communities, for the private sector, for government, but for the international community, they have provided the foundation for a new global marketplace of ideas and helped channel remarkable generosity in the face of tragedy. The more free information is, the stronger our societies become. On the other hand, there exists a number of challenges in cyberspace that we have to address, as will be discussed in the last panel today. Distinguished participants, the international community should make continuous and collective efforts to preserve and increase the opportunities and benefits of cyberspace while reducing its risks and challenges. In this endeavor, both public and private sectors must work together. Lastly, I am pleased to inform participants to this conference that the government of Rwanda will be hosting, in collaboration with the International Telecoms Union and Korea Telecom, a 4-day high-level ICT conference called Transform Africa. The conference will take place in Kigali, the capital of Rwanda, on October 28th and will end on October 31st. And it aims to mobilize the international IT community to set a new agenda for Africa, to leapfrog development challenges through the use of broadband and related services. I'm pleased to note that a number of Korean companies will be present in Kigali for Transform Africa, and I thank you. Once again, I wish to express my sincere gratitude for this opportunity offered to me by the government of Korea and to address this very important conference, and I look forward to most positive and productive discussions for the remaining time of this conference, and I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Your Excellency Louise Mushikiwabo, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation of Rwanda. Since we're behind schedule, it would be appreciated if the speakers could keep their speeches within the time limit of 7 to 8 minutes. The next speaker will be His Excellency Mangi Marzouk, Minister of Information and Communication Technologies of Tunisia. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Distinguished guests, attendees, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am pleased and honored to be invited to Seoul Conference on Cyberspace 2013, and I am particularly delighted to visit Korea and feel this warm hospitality. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and eminent attendees, network operators, service providers, access and content providers, private companies and enterprises, critical state infrastructure officials, developed and developing countries, and civil societies, and users and citizens of the world. We are all concerned by cybersecurity issues and challenges. Today, more than 2 billion people around the world are connected and rely on the internet and need a safer environment where trust and confidence, privacy and freedom, innovation and economic developments could be achieved. But how to address this universal, multivariate, and sophisticated problem involving all countries, all users, all communication networks, and in continuous transformation? Unfortunately, miraculous solution doesn't exist. And instead of getting frustrated because the panic from a catastrophe is another catastrophe, we have to set up together an adapted approach allowing to solve complex problems as suggested by the mathematicians George Polya in his volume entitled How to Solve It, which is based on 4 principles. While presenting those principles, I will share with you the Tunisian approach to tackle some of those cyberspace security issues. First principle, understand the problem. A problem well defined is a problem half solved. Cyberspace provides efficient means to improve economic growth, welfare, and innovation for everyone in the world, but concrete and actual risks threaten nations, private companies, and individuals by compromising, stealing, altering, or destroying sensitive and critical information. This is why international community needs to develop approach and evolved policy and adapted legal framework through a multilateral international collaboration procedure. This implies many actors with different profiles, private-public partnership, widespread education, best practice, and international cooperation and collaboration in order to set up effective preventive and curative measures. Actually, in Tunisia, we are reconsidering the legal framework and we are working on setting up a national cyber law in line with regional and international standards, because we are convinced that this issue should be addressed at global level, at global and international level. To develop the national security policy for Tunisian institution, an annual security audit has been established since 2004. This law is applied on public and critical private companies dealing with citizen and public data. The Tunisian National CERT Computer Emergency Response Team, created in 2004 and member of First Forum of Incident Response and Security Teams since 2007, aims to cyberspace monitoring via SEHR system, alert and warning, and incident handling. Computer for 6 professional and citizen assistance. To enhance the awareness of people in Tunisia, national campaigns or programmed and basic courses have been integrated within the university academic program, while supporting and sponsoring the creation of experts network in all areas of information security, as well as encouraging international professional certification. Developing technical capabilities and knowledge in public and private institutions is also a very important means to address the cybersecurity issue. Second principle, make a plan. The failure is planning will lead in planning to failure. We stand for a well-known concept, think big. We stand for a well-known concept, think big, start small, and scale fast. First, we should identify the long-term transformation trends and big changes in the coming years in ICT domain. Then we should identify potential weakness in skills, infrastructures, human resource, social environment, and select some oriented projects to initiate in order to fix weak points and have better insight into the following steps in order to achieve the whole vision identified. For those small-scale projects, some area should be tackled first and more aggressively. All countries need a strategy for cybersecurity. Moreover, they cannot succeed if they work alone. Especially developing countries need to learn from available expertise and support from developed countries to reach, hopefully, common international standards. In order to face cyber threats in a constantly changing environment, our countries need to have flexible and dynamic cyber security strategies. The cross-border nature of those threats makes it essential to focus on strong international cooperation. The Tunisian cybersecurity strategy, which was built in 2003 and periodically reviewed with the overall objective raising the security level of Tunisian information system, aims to the following essential goals. First, citizens aware of the IT risks and able to protect their personal data and e-transactions. Second, companies able to secure their IT systems, ensure e-transaction, and protect personal data. Third, government institutions and public facilities able to secure their IT systems and insurance, as well as personal data of citizens. And finally, to secure critical infrastructure and related IT systems. In order to reach those purposes, the following topics are addressed. First, updating legal cybersecurity framework. Then, national cyberspace ensured against risks and cyber threats. National information systems will secure regular and legislative tests kept up with sophistication. Advanced awareness and sensitization in the area of security cyberspace. Partnership with the academic resource and the private sector, setting up operational tools to evaluate and to follow up cybersecurity process of public and private institutions, and finally, develop a know-how in IT security, training, research and development, and open source tools. Third principle, carry out the plan. What is obvious in this stage is that we should never put off to tomorrow what we can do today. All what we need is care, patience, and perseverance. To choose an appropriate work plan, learning by doing approach is a reasonable way to improve it. And finally, and last step, is review and extend the solution. Prevent is better than cure. However, protecting the cyberspace requires a very clear vision, a continuous adjustment taking into consideration the learned lessons from the previous experiences. Looking back at achievement and difficulties enable us to predict future challenges, issues, and allow us to acquire a valuable know-how by practice and successive quote and try techniques. Practice makes it perfect. And finally, I would like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you Tunisian views regarding cyberspace, cooperation, and security, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency Mangui Marzouk, Minister of Information and Communication Technologies of Tunisia. The next speaker will be His Excellency Abdul Muttalib Yusuf, Permanent Secretary of Communications of Brunei Darussalam. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon. I would like to share with you some of our perspectives with respect to this session's theme, strengthening cross-border cooperation. With technological development of ICT, movement of people and goods, seamless transmission of data and information, the need for cross-border cooperation has never been more apparent. Now let me relate this to the context of social media. The immense and rapid growth of social media in the last couple of years has been phenomenal. It is inevitable, and I will leave with you some facts to think about over the next few minutes. Over 100 million people use Instagram every month. Twitter has over 200 million active users every month. WhatsApp, an application, has 300 million active users with 11 billion messages sent and 20 billion messages received every day. These numbers are growing as we speak, and these are enough to show us how communications and human interactions have transcended beyond borders. Brunei Darussalam is no exception. The usage of WhatsApp has been estimated to reach about 70% across the entire population of Brunei, and this is not even limited to residents who have smartphones. Just to give you a little bit of context, Brunei Darussalam is a small country with a population of just under 400,000 and an average annual population growth rate of just below 2%. Our current per capita income is about $24,000 US because of oil and gas. And the average GDP growth rate is about 2%. Our mobile telephony subscribers have reached a penetration of 100% since 2008, and now growing to 120% as we speak. Now, just to echo the issues mentioned by our colleague, Minister Luis from Rwanda, I'd just like to share with you some of the current developments with regards to ICT infrastructure in Brunei Darussalam. Now, last year, we just rolled out a high-speed broadband connectivity, fiber to the home, and it is currently being deployed, and this is expected to target about 70% of all our households in Brunei Darussalam by 2014 next year. And just to put into context, we have about 65,000 households in the whole of Brunei. And we have an average of 6 per household. So I'll leave you with the calculation. So with development comes very big challenges. The challenge is not the infrastructure rollout. The challenges are beyond our imagination, which is content challenges. Now, let me share with you on our perspective with regards to today's context of seminar. Cross-border cooperation is certainly needed to counter challenges faced by all communities of cyberspace. The consequences arising from the misuse of info communications technology, ICT, are very significant. Brunei Darussalam regards this matter seriously, and only last year, His Majesty the Sultan and Yang di-Pertuan of Brunei Darussalam, who is also the Prime Minister, called on the need to increase our capacity and awareness in monitoring, prevention, and enforcement with respect to positive use of the Internet. The role of all stakeholders, such as parents, teachers, society, and the users themselves, are also emphasized. In August this year, His Majesty further stated that any negativity arising from ICT usage must be stopped and countered. This leads to my key point on cybersecurity and cyber safety. Northern Cybercrime Report 2011 revealed that 10% of adults who go online have experienced cybercrime on their mobile phones. The cases of mobile vulnerabilities are also found to be 42% higher in 2010 than it was before in 2009. With our high mobile phone penetration and active mobile broadband users, these findings show us clear concerns that need to be addressed globally. On cyber safety, young children and youth are notably high users of ICT. They are, however, amongst the most vulnerable group of users. According to the ITU, around 90% of teens and young adults use the Internet. Over 60% of children and teenagers talk in chat rooms on a daily basis. 3 in 4 children online are willing to share personal information about themselves and their family in exchange for goods and services. 1 in 5 children will be targeted by a predator or pedophile each year. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a reality that is happening, and Brunei Darussalam regards this matter very seriously. The government and other relevant stakeholders have taken several steps in response to this issue, such as 1, the formation of a content advisory panel with the cooperation of various relevant agencies. Now, this panel considers regulatory, enforcement, and content management issues in Brunei Darussalam. This panel also makes policy recommendations, guidelines, and codes of conduct for media, or what is now called new media content. 2, Brunei Darussalam supports the Child Online Protection, COP, as initiated by ITU. We are now developing a COP framework to address internet-related crimes that are targeting those who are young and vulnerable within the society. This step is to counter recent cases where ICT has been made as the medium by online predators. 3. Since 2009, the government and the private sector have been organizing cybersecurity and internet etiquette seminars to students, parents, and teachers nationwide. Ultimately, the cybersecurity awareness programs will be included in the educational curriculum. Close collaboration among various agencies between the government, the private sector, and the public is the key approach in mitigating implications arising from cybersecurity and cyber safety threats. In this context, Brunei Darussalam has also established an agency called BRUCERT, or the Computer Emergency Response Team, Brunei Darussalam, in May 2004. BRUCERT works closely with the local and international CSIRTs, network service providers, security vendors, government agencies, as well as other related organizations to facilitate the detection, analysis, and prevention of security incidents on the internet. Brunei Darussalam also values the collaborative ties established between regional and international CERTs, as well as monitoring agencies. These collaborations are crucial in enforcing the international reporting lines and standards while managing cross-border threats. In the area of public key infrastructure, PKI, I wish to share with you that the Public Key Infrastructure, or the PKI Master Plan, has just been concluded early this year. As a follow-up, the government is currently conducting a policy review on the institutional and operational framework of PKI for Brunei Darussalam. Ladies and gentlemen, with the depth and intricacies of issues in cyberspace, Brunei Darussalam looks at regional and international best practices in the management of both opportunities and threats. To work alone in the cyberspace, as we heard before, is impossible. To complement our national initiatives, we are also actively engaging regional and international collaboration. Hence, before concluding this address, we would like to share some thoughts on the 3 following points for consideration. Firstly, to strengthen cooperation and exchange programs, including capacity building for the relevant stakeholders, such as CERTs, authorities, and security agencies, among others. Secondly, to establish cybersecurity international guidelines for regulators and operators. This could be done through an iterative process between government, industry, academia, and the public. And thirdly, to share best practices for positive use of the internet for users, or as what Secretary William Hague of the UK stated this morning, a set of standards for behavior. To conclude, we look forward to having such collaborative opportunities gained from this conference today. Let us hope the conference will bring us a set of good practice guidelines and very focused resolutions on addressing issues pertaining to cyberspace and cybersecurity. Let's make it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency Abdul Muttalib Yusuf, Permanent Secretary of Communications of Brunei Darussalam. The next speaker will be Deputy Minister of Economy and Energy of Bulgaria, Mr. Krasin Dimitrov. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Your Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, and honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like first to thank the Korean government for being such a wonderful host and for the excellent organization of this timely event, although we are running out of time. It is a great honor for me to attend and represent the Republic of Bulgaria on this major international forum and speak here today on a topic of great importance to Bulgaria and around the world, such as cooperation in cyberspace. In the modern world, internet occupies an essential role in our everyday life as it provides numerous opportunities, but it also enhances the risk of our security. Today, this major new cyber threat to both security of personal data and security of national economies cannot be tackled individually, but through the joint efforts of the whole international community. That is why it is essential for Bulgaria to enhance its international cooperation in the area of, on multiple levels of cyberspace. There is no country in the age of cyber the threat that can remain indifferent against malicious acts. Besides bringing people closer, the internet has eliminated distances and differences while placing at the hands of criminals a very powerful means of organized acts. It is only through the joint actions of governments and citizens that a reliable shield against cybercrime can be built. The global nature of the cybersecurity requires joint activities by states to protect critical information infrastructure. This implies wide cooperation both at national and international level. All nations need to take systematic domestic and international steps to enhance the security of their network critical information infrastructures. That is why I consider this conference as such a manifestation of concerned actions. No matter whether cyber attacks are directed against business or governments, the role and responsibility of governments are the utmost importance. Let me present to you the measures that our government undertakes in the field of cybersecurity with some focus on the computer security incident response team. The legal framework regulating these measures includes the Electronic Governance Act and the Ordinance on the General Requirements and Interoperability and Information Security. The Act regulates the activity of the administrative bodies when working with electronic documents, the provision of administrative services electronically, and the exchange of electronic documents among the administrative bodies. It also regulates the requirements for achieving network and information security in the information systems of the administrative bodies and indicates the state body responsible for developing and pursuing the policy in the field of network and information security, including exercising control, and this is our Ministry of Transport, Information Technology and Communications. The Bulgarian regulatory framework, to a large degree, follows the legislation and recommendations of the European Union in the field of information security. Following the European best practices, after consultation with the European Network and Information Security Agency, and in accordance with the Ordinance on the General Requirements of Interoperability and Information Security, a Computer Security Incident Response Team was established in 2008. Within the structure of the Executive Agency, Electronic Communication Networks and Information Systems at the Ministry of Transport and Communications. The Ministry also has responsibilities regarding network and information security. The Electronic Governance Directorate is the policy maker, and the agency, in particular the Computer Security Incident Response Team, is the operative body. In July 2009, GovCert Bulgaria was granted its initial accreditation for its activity by the specialized European organization Trusted Introducer. And after that, it has been renewed every calendar year, for 2013 included. But Bulgaria's efforts are not limited only to the European field. After signing Memorandum of Understanding, Bulgaria has joined the International Multilateral Partnership Against Cyber Threats, IMPACT, started by the International Telecommunication Unit as a part of the Global Cybersecurity Agenda Initiative. Since November 2009, the Computer Security Incident Response Team maintains permanent connectivity with the Global Response Center of the IMPACT project. This center provides in real-time response to our network early warning system that enables pinpointing cyber threats and ensures guidelines for prevention action. The center also provides access to electronically secure collaborative application platform for experts, so-called ESCAPE. ESCAPE enables Impact to act as a center of coordination and responses in emergency situations, which facilitates a rapid identification of sharing of the available resources abroad. As a NATO member nation, Bulgaria supports NATO's attitude towards cybersecurity. The alliance has adopted a new strategic concept that recognizes cyber attacks as a potential threat to international security. As early as 2005, the importance of cyber defense were realized, and the organization stressed the necessity of setting up computer emergency response teams within the activity of the Civil Communications Planning Committee. Bulgaria also was involved in drafting several documents related to cyber attacks, assessments of existing and potential vulnerabilities in NATO's and national electronic communication networks, and giving appropriate recommendations based on best practices. Bulgaria has established direct contacts with NATO Computer Incidents Response Team. The Bulgarian government Computer Security Incident Response Team receives and responds to these signals for cybersecurity breaches on daily basis. Since the beginning of the year, Bulgarian representatives participate in the activity of the working group to the Council of the European Union Friends of the Presidents on Cyber Issues. The main objective of this working group is to enhance the coordination and exchange of information directed towards developing an integrated approach to solving the issues in the cybersecurity policy. The Bulgarian Computer Security Incident Response Team has applied for memberships in the European Government CRT group. This membership will contribute to the expansion of the European context, with which will no doubt enhance the operational capability of this group. Contacts are also maintained at operational level, aimed mainly at receiving signals for breaches from and in Bulgarian internet space, information about threats and vulnerabilities for the network, and information about security of the system. As I mentioned, the global nature of cybersecurity requires broad international cooperation. Exchange of information regarding cyber incidents is crucial for efficient fight against cyber attacks. Only through global efforts from all countries we would be able to defend the cyberspace, which has become an essential part of every one person's life. As you can see, Bulgaria works actively towards the goal of a more secure cyberspace with our international partners. I express my great belief that at this forum we could establish new partnerships and further enhance our cooperation. I am convinced that events like this third conference on cyberspace 2013 in Seoul will contribute of improving the competencies of the institutions that are responsible for cybersecurity, and will provide new guidelines on efficient collaboration. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Deputy Minister of Economy and Energy of Bulgaria, Mr. Krasin Dimitrov. The next speaker will be Parliamentary Senior Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, Mr. Mitsuya Norio. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to express my deepest and most sincere gratitude to all the people who have worked hard to make this conference possible. This conference is a valuable international platform where we can discuss a wide range of cyber-related issues. It is a great honor for Japan to participate in this year's Seoul conference, as we did in London and Budapest. Cyberspace continues to expand across borders and have become widely used by various actors. Along with such development, cyber risks are also expanding and globalizing. Cyber crimes and cyber attacks have become an imminent issue that no single country can address by itself. Therefore, it is essential for the international community to work cooperatively. To meet such increased and diverse security challenges, our Prime Minister Abe put forth the principle of proactive contribution to peace. Guided by this principle, Japan will strengthen its already active engagement in international partnerships aimed to enhance cybersecurity. Japan's fundamental policy about cyberspace is to secure its free flow of information. Japan will structure a safe and reliable cyberspace by ensuring openness and interoperability without excessive control or regulation. In light of the changes in the circumstances surrounding cyberspace, Japan adopted a new cybersecurity strategy this June. Based on this strategy, Japan aims to become a cybersecurity nation with world-leading, resilient, and vigorous cyberspace. Earlier this month, Japan also issued an international strategy on cybersecurity cooperation, J Initiative for Cybersecurity, in order to make clear Japan's policy of active engagement in collaboration and with the mutual assistance of other relevant states on this issue. Based on these two policy documents, Japan will take an active role in addressing cyber issues in cooperation with the international community. Next, I'd like to introduce to you some main steps Japan is to take under the J Initiative for Cybersecurity that I have mentioned. First of all, creating rules for cybersecurity which establish an international norm and provide international standards of technology is critical to fully enjoy the benefits of cyberspace. As for security-related rules, Japan has sent experts to the United Nations group of governmental experts, UNGGE, meetings, and to constructively engage in discussions. Japan is of the view that existing international law, such as the UN Charter and the international humanitarian law, applies to the use of cyberspace by necessity. Japan highly appreciates the set of recommendations adopted as a result of the UNGG meetings on international norms, which includes the applicability of international law, especially the UN Charter and confidence-building measures in the context of international security. Japan will continue to actively engage in studying the application of specific international norms to cyberspace. Secondly, in order to respond to cyber crimes, prompt international coordination is necessary, and close cooperation and information sharing among law enforcement agencies are vital. With this in mind, Japan joined the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime last year. Japan is now actively promoting this convention and supports capacity building assistance to other countries in this regard. For example, Japan has decided to provide funding to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime and to support the cybercrime capacity building project for ASEAN countries. Lastly, with respect to rulemaking, Japan believes that regulations which prioritize technologies of one's own country over others for economical reasons could lead to the exclusion of the most advanced security technologies and will eventually undermine such a country's security against its own will. It is important to make cyber-related rules consistent with the rules of international trade that give due consideration to transparency and fairness. As I stated earlier, Japan will continue to proactively engage in international cooperative efforts. In addition to existing bilateral talks, Japan will hold dialogues with other countries as well. Japan will also actively participate in multilateral talks at the United Nations and regional frameworks, such as the ASEAN Regional Forum. Japan will continue working together with other countries to build a safe and reliable cyberspace. Last but not least, I hope that fruitful discussions today will encourage the international community to work together more, hand in hand, and to take an ever more effective approach to cyber issues. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Parliamentary Senior Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, Mr. Mitsuya Norio. The last speaker of the session will be Referent of the Security Council Office of Russia, Mr. Ivan Belyayev, who will be speaking in Russian. So if necessary, please use the interpretation device placed on your left armrest. Now please welcome Mr. Belyayev with a big round of applause.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, на рубеже 90-х годов прошлого столетия цивилизация подошла к естественному очередному рубежу своего развития. Началось активное формирование глобального информационного.
Active evolvement of the global information environment has started. Intensive use of information and communications technologies raised big expectations. The only thing left in the background was provision of security in the information space. Despite conclusiveness and persuasiveness of forecasts, information security issues were regarded as subjects for discussion only within expert circles. Scarcely more than 20 years have passed. And today, the whole world is anxious about rapidly growing threats in information sphere. These threats became cross-border. They inflict damage not only to a person or state, but to the whole international community. Expected damage can be compared by its destructive scale with the use of mass destruction weapons. I would remind that Russia was one of the pioneers in promoting international information security. The draft resolution entitled Developments in the Field of Information and Telecommunication in the Context of International Security was proposed in 1998 at the 53rd session of the General Assembly of the United Nations. It was supported by the UN member states and drew attention to the new challenges and threats to international security. Today, after 15 years, we can say with confidence that it launched the process of merging approaches aimed at consolidation of the world community efforts in this strategically important area. Notions such as international information security, security in the use of information and communication technologies have already become well known to scientists and experts, as well as businessmen and politicians. In modern conditions, it is impossible to stay indifferent to the problems of security in information space. These issues are clearly covered in the National Security Strategy of the Russian Federation to 2020, destructive and sometimes illegal nature of new challenges and threats enforces international community to find the most effective ways to resist, take appropriate measures to prevent and neutralize them. Many states have already adopted national strategies, doctrines, and conceptions on ensuring security in information space. They conduct responsible policy in this field. However, the fact that even leading states are not able to tackle them solely is becoming more obvious. It contradicts dialectics of development of the global information space. International community has faced the necessity to establish the unified system of global information security. No doubt that it implies a long and hard way to secure strategic stability and reach equal strategic partnership in global information space. However, as one famous Korean proverb says, "Road is long if you walk alone," and, as antique philosophers said, "the path will be overcome by the one who walks." On the assumption of this, in July 2013, the President of the Russian Federation adopted the basic principles of state policy of the Russian Federation in the field of international information security to 2020. This is the strategic planning document in the Russian Federation. It determines the goal, objectives, and priority guidelines of Russia's involvement in neutralizing major threats to international information security. Once again, our constructive readiness to participate with other states in the process of solving problems in the field of ensuring security in the use of ICTs was confirmed. I would like to draw your attention to the national meaning of the term international information security. International information security is defined as such condition for the global information space which prevents any possibility of violation of rights of the individual, society, and state in the information sphere, and destructive and unlawful impact on the elements of national critical information infrastructure. In this connection, the Russian Federation intends to focus efforts on finding agreement and common interests with other countries in the establishment of global legal regime aimed at creation of favorable conditions for the development of a comprehensive system of international information security. For this purpose, we will seek to establish bilateral and multilateral partnership benefits and transparent relations of partnership on security in the use of ICTs. International community can see examples of development of such relations. So Russia negotiates in regional format and on bilateral basis. The first regional agreement in the field of international information security was an intergovernmental agreement between the member states of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that came into force in 2011. Significant event took place in June 2013. During the G8 summit in Lucerne, the presidents of the Russian Federation and the United States adopted a joint statement on fundamentally new approaches to cooperation in the field of the use of ICTs. Will of the heads of our states enshrined reached mutual agreements, including exchange of information about computer incidents. Practical cooperation between the Russian Federation and the United States in this sphere was launched. Currently, establishing of the bilateral working group, appropriate high level, reached agreements is near completion. Direct communication link between high-level officials supervising information security in Kremlin and in the White House is now being established. Beginning of the Russian-American collaboration in the field of ensuring security in the use of ICTs has enriched our experience of practical cooperation in this sphere and can set a worthy example to other states. On its part, the Russian Federation considers creation of conditions facilitated to risks reduction in the use of ICTs for hostile actions and acts of aggression as a strategic priority. Discrediting of sovereignty, violation of states' territorial integrity and democratic freedoms, and threats to international peace, security, and strategic stability are on the whole regarded as inadmissible. Russia prioritizes its engagement in the establishment of international cooperation mechanisms to address threats in the use of ICTs for terrorist and extremist purposes, including interference into internal affairs of states. I would like to mention that the objectives of Russian national policy set in basic principles correspond to commitment of many states to address the whole range of threats in the information sphere in a cooperative way. We can state that transparency and univocacy of the key provisions of the document are intended to promote mutual understanding on seeking the best ways to establish comprehensive international information security system. It should be stated that long-term national priorities for security in the use of ICTs proclaimed by Russia confirm that the state and its foreign policy are aimed at prevention of conflicts in global information space. Creation conditions for establishment of the international legal regime of non-proliferation of so-called information weapon and fostering safety in all respects of information environment correlate with this standpoint. Promoting its national policy in the field of international information security, the Russian Federation demonstrates transparent approach to maintaining international peace, security, and strategic stability. In this process, we rely on numerous positive responses of the world community to our document. They highly appreciate its transparency, actuality, and significance of Russia's approaches to solving security problems of global information area. We can say with confidence that the Russian Federation will stay on track of cooperation, taking part along with other states in strengthening international mechanisms in the field of secure use of ICTs. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Referent of the Security Council Office of Russia, Mr. Ivan Belyayev. And that concludes session 3 of the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace 2013. Please give our keynote speakers another round of warm applause. So this brings us to the end of plenary session 3. Next, 2 panel discussions will be concurrently held. Panel discussion 1 on the agenda, Economic Growth and Development, will be held at Hall E, while panel discussion 2 on the agenda, Cybersecurity, will be held here at Auditorium. We're going to take a 5-minute break for those of you who wish to proceed to Hall E. Once again, you can move to Hall E for panel discussion 1 or remain here in Auditorium for panel discussion 2. Thank you.